Well, hello everyone, it's Dana here. Welcome back to another episode of Research Works podcast. I am flying solo today, and the reason for that is Marissa and Ash are all on holiday. They timed a holiday without me. So I'm here in the studio with the absolute privilege of doing this episode today with our producer, Ed. Ed, do you want to say hello to everyone? I didn't plan.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you for being on. Obviously, I can't do this podcast episode without Ed, although I will just add in a little story here that I did have to do one episode by myself all the way back in season 1 for episode 26. Ed couldn't make it. It was a late night recording. I drove into, back then we didn't have a studio, so I set everything up by myself, plugged everything in, and we did record a great episode. That was with Egmar Longo and Anna Carolina de Campos. I remember it very clearly. I also remember for the fact that because I was so flustered, I took off the front part of my bumper in the car because I was so nervous with doing it. And I think I was, as I was pulling in, I wasn't parking the car properly to get all the gear out. Anyhow, that's what happens when I do episodes by myself without Ed. Grateful to have you here, Ed. Thank you for being here.
No problem at all.
All right, you will feature again towards the end. But right now, I have the privilege of introducing our speaker, our guest today, and someone who I've seen do a lot of work from afar, and now we actually get to chat. Welcome to the pod, Dr. Erika Cloodt. Hello, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So nice to have you. And then I'm just worried, say your surname again.
Cloodt.
Cloodt, yeah. See, I did a terrible job. Erika Cloodt.
It's difficult for everyone.
Well, we need to learn. It's so wonderful to have you here. Like I said, I've seen you many a time at EACD. Normally, you're very busy during the conference. What's your role there, Erika? What do you do? What makes you run around so much?
Because I meet so many friends there. Yeah. That's why.
It is brilliant.
But also I currently serve as the secretary of the EACD, which is an organization that really means a lot to me, both professionally but also personally.
Wow.
And as you know, my involvement in EACD started earlier when I was part of funding the early career researchers group within the EACD.
Yes.
Which I then had the opportunity to chair for a couple of years.
Yes.
And if I had to point like one thing that has changed my research life, it's definitely that group and the EACD.
Wow, that is so special to be able to work for an organization that has given you so much, and you giving back as well is really, it's a very unique situation to be in. And I remember that. I think it was in Slovenia. It was the first time we had brought the podcast to EACD, and I remember seeing you there and Alvaro was there. We were having Mexican food in Slovenia. It was so fun. And like the group that you have there is amazing, especially when you're an early career researcher. Being surrounded by the right people is so important, isn't it?
Yeah, it made such a huge difference for me, and I know it has made a huge difference for many people, because research can feel very lonely sometimes.
It can,
and you travel the world to conferences where you don't know anyone and you feel super insecure. And then having that network of super talented people and friends that are committed to the same work and the same research that you are, it's like amazing.
It's so brilliant, isn't it? And I think, I couldn't put it better myself. And I'm so grateful for those opportunities that you've given all of us. And how wonderful is I get to speak to you today about a paper that you have published. Now, you've published many a paper, and this one really caught my eye because it's something that we haven't really spoken about much before. Now, this was published in Developmental Medicine and Child Neurology, and it's titled Longitudinal Decline in Upper Limb Range of Motion in Adults with Cerebral Palsy. You know, there's so many aspects to this that is so important. So I can't wait to get into it. We've given everyone a bit of a background so beautifully now about what you do at EACD, but how about I give everyone a bit more of a bio about who you are, Erika? So Erika is a Swedish pediatric physiotherapist and researcher at Lund University's Department of Clinical Sciences, Orthopedics, and the Department of Research and Development, Region Kronoberg in Vercroix. She's just nodding, but thank you, thumbs up, thank you. She earned her PhD in 2022 with a thesis focused on knee contractures in children with cerebral palsy and has since become a leading voice in long-term musculoskeletal outcomes in cerebral palsy. Using Sweden's population-based cerebral palsy registries, her work examines range of motion, contractures and functional trajectories from childhood into adulthood. Her research is driven by this amazing commitment to evidence-based lifelong care for people living with cerebral palsy. So wonderful. Love the enthusiasm and passion of everything that it is that you do. Now, my icebreaker question for you today is, even though I don't have Marissa and I don't have Ash here, I have come up with a question for you, Erika. And it comes from a place of great intrigue, so much curiosity. It's profound. Stand by. If you were to make the most ultimate sandwich, what would that look like? That would be best for you. Tell me.
Yeah.
Profound.
Actually, the first, it's funny because the only sandwich that came up in my mind ever since the American Academy's conference this last year is the faux boy, which I had in New Orleans with Creole shrimps sandwich with like tomatoes and mayonnaise and shrimps. That's super fresh.
Gosh.
And since then, that's like the only sandwich that I have in my mind. So I skip all the Swedish sandwiches. That's the only one for me.
Really? And the Swedish sandwiches are like phenomenal. It's the rye and you have like this amazing layers. And you have gone, what is it called again?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. It's been taken. This is what happens when you go to conferences. You taste the local food. So what was the sandwich called again?
I'm not sure if I pronounced it right, but faux boy.
Faux boy,
it's like a local sandwich of New Orleans. You can have it everywhere there, which we had also.
Gosh, now I really know I missed out on that. What a shame for me.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I will look out for that sandwich. Ed, over to you.
Yeah.
Do you have an ultimate sandwich?
Well, kind of.
Ooh.
So I'm a Dutchman, despite the thick Australian accent. And for me, nothing can go past the broodje haring. It's the raw, salt-cured herring on a soft white bun, topped with diced raw onions and pickles. The best thing in the world.
That is what I would expect from a Dutchman.
Dutch hot dog, kind of.
Well, okay, on that story, I remember being in Amsterdam, I think on the way to Bruges for the last EACD. They all relate back to conferences. And there was an American mum saying to her kid, he's like, Mum, what's a broodje haring? And she's like, it's like a hot dog. And I'm like, don't sell it like that to him. It's nothing like a hot dog.
It's much better.
He wouldn't have been expecting it. Thank you, Ed. That is quite typical.
Actually, so what about your sandwich though?
My sandwich, my ultimate sandwich, I would have to say mine is inspired from when I went to Venice many, many years ago. I grew up Canadian, right? So my favorite sandwich originally was peanut butter and jam. And it was just what we would have all the time. Because back in the day, in the 80s, you would bring peanut butter to school. That was absolutely okay back then. Obviously, that's not a thing now. And my taste for sandwiches took this whole new level when I was in Venice. And we were in this like quiet street in the middle of nowhere. And they were selling these €2.50 sandwiches. It was just this white bread that was really soft, but lots of flour. It had prosciutto. It had this mozzarella and some rocket and a little bit of a drizzle of balsamic vinegar, as in reduced. That was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So I would say that would be my favorite. And I know no one asked, but my second favorite would be like a fish burger. I know that's not a sandwich, but you could make it into that. But a fish burger is amazing. Like not a broodje haring, but deep fried battered fish in some white bread.
It's not quite the same.
Not quite the same, but yes. Well, I thank you for sharing your favourite sandwich. Erika, it's not what I expected, but this is why the icebreakers are so good. We get to learn so much more about each other. Yeah. Let's get get into this paper, but why we've all come here today, let me give everyone a bit of a rundown about what this paper is all about. So, using Sweden's National Cerebral Palsy Registry, Erika and her team tracked passive range of motion in over 1,390 adults aged between 16 and 76 years in their shoulder abduction and flexion, forearm supination, elbow extension, and wrist extension over periods of up to 13 years. The team found that upper limb range of motion continues to decline throughout adulthood across all levels of manual ability. And adults with higher max levels, 4 and 5 in particular, start with less motion and lose it faster, especially in shoulder flexion, elbow extension, and wrist extension, while those in max levels 1 and 2 begin with better range and decline more slowly. What is really clear here is that we're not just talking about walking and children anymore. We're actually talking about a lifelong story. And that is the part here that is so important. Erika, like for you, you've been studying contractures, range of motion and cerebral palsy for a number of years now, and particularly looking at your work on knee contractures and children. I'm really curious to know what sparked your interest in extending that work into adulthood. And I guess on there, why upper limb too? So there's 2 questions there. Go ahead and fill us in the best way you'd like to.
Yeah, thank you. And I think it's mostly comes to the fact that there is, as you said, there is so little research on adults with cerebral palsy still.
Yeah.
Even if we know it's a lifelong condition that doesn't stop at 18, it's still, most research still focus on children. And for many years, I have had the privilege to working with this big data set we have in Sweden from our follow-up program, which is a national-wide program that includes almost all children with CP and a majority of adults with CP in Sweden, which is quite unique also internationally, since we are able to follow those individuals over their lifespan, including adulthood. But it's really like the recent years that we have enough data on adults to be able to do those kind of longitudinal studies. So I think it's not like a single moment of inspiration. It's more that we have the opportunity to answer these questions that we know that they need to be answered, and we have the data to go there.
Isn't that amazing? And I mean, your register is so well known. I've spoken to many researchers now who have used data from this register. I'm really curious. In my mind, I go from a pediatrics perspective, it makes sense to me about how this data is collected. You come in for, I gather, routine medical assessments and they are done there. What does it actually look like from an adulthood perspective? Like, who's doing the data collection and who are they seeing for you to collect all this data?
It's like similar to the child center environment. So when you have a cerebral palsy and you're a child, you automatically get access to our habilitation centers, where you will automatically be followed for your entire childhood.
Wow.
And it's voluntary, of course, but most families want to be followed and have interventions from those centers. Mm-hmm. And when you became 18, you get to decide if you want to continue to be followed by the adult center, which have a little bit of a different setup where you have to. It's more like put on you as an individual, and not that much that it comes from the center itself. But for the CPUP follow-up meetings, you will, if you want to continue to be followed in adulthood, you get that opportunity, and they will call you in for your regular follow-ups.
Wow, okay.
And then you will meet the physiotherapist and occupational therapist, who will collect all those data and also follow you. Every person gets an individual curves that you can follow, so you can see how you have went from childhood to adulthood for all your range of motions, your interventions, your physical activity, etc.
That's incredible.
A lot of data that can also be used for a good discussion with the person itself and the family.
That is so wonderful. And it's so holistic, isn't it? There is obviously something in it for everyone, in that it allows us to be able to study this longitudinal data is incredibly precious. But for the individual and the family themselves, they actually get to get information about themselves at the time. And, that's just so important for people as they're making decisions. And it's just what a beautiful thing to have set up. And what foresight it was to set this up all those years ago. It's amazing.
Yeah. And that's also why we keep saying that this is it's mainly a follow-up program for individuals with CP, and the research is like a bonus of this. So it's not a research program, but it's a follow-up program for individuals.
Now, beautifully said. So with this particular study then, in terms of what you looked at, why is this the first study of its kind, and why does this matter? Why does upper limb range of motion matter, I guess, is the big question here.
Yeah. I think why it's the only study of its kind is linked to what I said before that we have this opportunity to look into adulthood with this big data set. And upper limb range of motion is very important for everything that we do in daily life, for reaching, for grabbing, for being independent in what you want to do. It's very crucial in everything in daily life, actually.
It really is, isn't it? And I think we've always had such a big focus on, lower limb range of motion. It seems so natural for us to expect that we could track that over time. But then you do have, increasingly people who may not be mobilizing as independently as they used to be, but they will still be engaged in activities of daily living, which is entirely dependent on their upper limb range of motion. So it just makes it so important to understand this in terms of what life actually looks like for this group of people as they get older. So Erika, in terms of the broad aim of this particular paper, because I imagine you would have had a lot of data to look at, but what was the main aim of this paper for you and your research team?
Yeah, it was to follow and analyze this longitudinal changes in the passive range of motion in all upper limbs in adults with CP.
Yeah, gosh, that feels like a huge, ambitious thing to do. And I know that one of the things that you looked at, and I mentioned it in the abstract as well, is you use MAX. Can you talk us through the use of the MAX in this population? Because I think the MAX is often, related to using for children, and in terms of how it gets used for adults. What was the process of MAX? And can you just talk us through what that is? Just, I guess, in a high level as well for people who might not have come across it before.
Yeah. So MAX level, or MAX, is a classification of hand function. So it's performance based. Like the GMFCS is, but for upper limb and for hand function. So it's a five scale level, where it's also like the GMFCS, where the highest level of MAX has the highest difficulties using their hands.
Yes,
and it's based on what you do in daily life, and not your highest capacity.
Yeah.
So the classification looks at activities and gives you a single level that rates your ability to use both hands in your activities.
Sure. Yeah. And so it's relevant to use, I think a lot of people have used it for unilateral cerebral palsy, but when you have, I imagine, in terms of who was included, and I guess maybe going into that now, that's probably a good place to go to in terms of who was actually included within the data. Can you just go through some of the demographics, type and presentation and all of that for us, Erika, just to understand this population a bit more?
Yeah, and MAX is used for all GMFCS levels, so it's possible to use it for all GMFCS levels. And in our follow-up program, it's classified by the occupational therapists at every follow-up occasion. It's classified. What was your other question?
Okay. So who was actually included? Because obviously you've used MAX. Yeah. We're so familiar with using it with children, but this is for adults. So who was actually included? What was the population actually looking like?
Yeah, so it's correct. We included adults from the age of 16 to 76 years of age. And importantly, they had to have at least 3 repeated measurements over time.
Wow. Okay.
So we could actually look at change and not just like single time points.
Sure.
So as you mentioned before, in total we had almost 1,400 adults that we followed. And in terms of CP types, it was a full population-based cohort. So it's all CP subtypes with spastic CP, but also dyskinetic, atactic, and mixed types of CP.
Wow.
So we didn't exclude anyone based on subtype or anything.
That is so unique. So like we're talking about nearly 1,400 participants who would have come at least 3 times for data over that period of time across all levels. That's not an easy thing to be able to get. And this is why registers are so valuable, aren't they? Like where else would you get this data from? Now, I often don't like asking statistics questions because they're often very complicated. But when I look at your article, and I really encourage everyone to take a look at it, there's going to be a link on our website as well. It's open access. But man, your graphs are pretty. You've got really pretty graphs. I love a good pretty graph with all different kinds of colours. So before we go into what the results were, do you mind just going through with us in terms of how this was analysed? Because this is a lot of data, a lot of people, different presentations. How do you treat this data? I mean, I'll get a statistician to help me, but just to have a high level understanding. Don't worry, I won't get into details with you unless you want to.
With time and patience. That's what's needed.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is when you question all life decisions when you're going through this much data.
Especially when you have like free text answers.
Free text
at some of the that's never good, you know.
No. Numbers are nice. Numbers are very nice. When this is the big one. Yes.
No, but no, it takes a lot of time to prepare the data file for analysis. That takes a lot of time because we have to validate the data to see that it's okay for analysis.
Yes.
And but our CPP program have improved over the years to make it easier for clinicians to fill in the right data. So, for example, you can't fill in 300 degrees of range of motion.
Yes.
But before that, there was no limits. Then you have to validate to see that they haven't put an extra 0 at the end or something that could change the results.
Yeah. And I can imagine that's a really important part because you have different people. Like you said, this is a follow-up program. So if it was research, you have these really strict protocols that you might use. You need to put things in place to make sure as clinicians are putting in results, they are as valid as possible and you trust in the data that you're seeing.
Yes. And in Sweden, this is very structured within the clinics because CPUP is very standardized. So we have manuals for clinicians to follow. We have courses for them to take part in.
Sure.
So it's to be a registered. It's very standardized in the clinics how to measure and how to.
Okay. Yeah, that's really important, I think, and for people to understand how robust that data is. Now, when I look at your statistical analysis in terms of what you did, it was a linear mixed effects model with individual random intercepts. How do you explain that to, just anyone who wants to understand statistics?
You mean except from it sounds very cool and professional.
It sounds very cool. I mean, random intercepts. Come on now.
I know.
Well, what does it mean?
But it's also a very practical reason behind it, actually.
Yeah.
So what we really wanted was to capture how range of motion changed over time within each individual, while also understanding the pattern in the whole group. And that is exactly what this type of model allows you to do.
I see.
So instead of just take the average of everything, we can let each person have their own starting point and their own rate of change.
I see.
and in the same time see the bigger picture across all individuals at the same time.
Right.
And that becomes especially important in a data set like this, where people have different number of measurements and are followed for a different length of time.
Sure.
So some have many data points and others have fewer. So, for example, for older adults who often had fewer measurements,
Sure.
The model can still include them
Right.
by using all available data and account for that variation. So we didn't have to exclude them just because the follow-up looked different.
Yes.
So it's a way of doing justice both for the individual trajectories, but and the population-based trends.
You sound like a statistician there.
Yeah,
That's great.
At the same time.
That's great because, I mean, you're right. In terms of the data, you want to look at individual differences over time. And again, it's a follow-up clinic. So you're going to have different, older adults may have less and the younger ones may have more, because you might have things that are more rigorous. But this model allows you to really fit that quite nicely. Nicely explained. I got that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. And that's the result of your beautiful graphs. So now let's get into the results. Let's talk more about, in terms of your high-level results, what were the characteristics of those that were included within the studies? I guess just going into more of the detail about, before we look at range of motion, what did your population actually look like? How would you describe them mainly?
So they had a median age of 26 years.
Wow.
And the majority of the population was under 40 years of age.
Okay.
So 80% is under 40, and that's because in Sweden, CP has been more common for children than for adults. So many of the children that has been followed for many years are now adults.
Yes.
So we're still working on including more adults that also haven't been followed as children.
And on that point then, just the fact that the majority were under 40, that just shows the value of these initiatives, the CPUP program. Like, it just shows the value of this initiative to have people tracked through a system and not get missed out, doesn't it? Like, it really does show the value of it. Is that how you'd interpret that? Because that's an incredible number.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, and we had all max levels represented. I don't remember the actual percentage now, but maybe you have them.
Let me look at the. Oh, well, I mean, how could you not remember the specific numbers? No, there was representation across all of your max levels in your table 1. So I think that's really impressive, and I love how you've mapped it out according to GMFCS levels as well. So it is quite an impressive spread. But people can take a look at that table themselves. It's a good table. Go take a look at that. Okay, so let's go high level then. What were the main results here? What really stood out to you, Erika, and talk us through things that might have surprised you as well?
I think the main results is that the range of motion actually declines across all max levels, and not just in those with more severe impairment.
Yeah,
and that kind of surprised us.
Yeah, for sure.
And at the same time, I think the steeper decline in the higher max levels really stood out. So it's not just like they start with lower range of motion when they come into adulthood. They also seem to lose range faster over time.
Wow.
And so I think seeing that so clearly in the curves also makes it harder to ignore. It really highlights the need for a continued follow-up in adulthood.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I have to admit, I was surprised by that as well. I think I instantly thought about, so I have this example of, and I need to really work on my range of motion. It just shows that over time, if you're not using your range of motion as effectively, you're not being challenged, I suppose, you can lose it, right? Like, I don't know if there's anyone out there who also has dresses that have zips that go all the way to the back. And I found myself in a change room once and I was like, I can't rotate my shoulder enough to zip all the way. And I'm like, I need to work on my range of motion. Otherwise, I need someone to help me. So that level of decline that happens, do you think this rate of decline, particularly in max 1 and 2, that is so surprising? Like, why do you think that's the case in this group? Why are they losing range when they have quite good manual ability?
Yeah, for me, it really reinforced the idea that there are many underlying factors that we still don't fully understand in CP. When it comes to muscle pathology, joint changes, and contracture development.
Yeah.
So it's clear that something is happening over time, even in those individuals with mild forms of CP.
Yeah.
And I have to say, like the thing you mentioned with your zipper and your dress, it's a question I get basically on every conference I have presented this paper. It's like, isn't that normal aging? Don't we all get a bit stiffer? Yeah. And it's funny because then almost always someone wants to demonstrate it, like like they go down on the floor to show their limited mobility. But we have actually compared our data with data from adults without CP.
Okay.
From other studies.
Sure.
So the decline in range of motion is really more than in the general population. So it's not comparable with what happens in people without CP. It's something.
It is, right.
It's something extra that actually happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
And isn't that interesting? I love how you said that as well, that everyone tries to show you and what happens over time. I'm like, oh gosh. Because I think that's the way that we relate to this, is we can compare to ourselves and go, well, but that's also really important to do that, because if you can relate the loss of mobility that you might have had before, it does affect function. And so for young people who become adults who might be max level 1 and 2, their function might be somewhat limited anyway. It's slower. We know that's how the max describes it. But if you're losing range still faster at all joints compared to the neurotypical population, I imagine this has significant implications on function. Like, what would that look like? Like, what kind of functional tasks are we talking about here that it will be really impactful for?
I think we still have a lot to learn about how much range of motion can you lose and still have a good function, and what type of movements does a limited range of motion affect the most. Yeah. But for sure, I think it's not just about looking into a single movement or a single joint that is affected. I think you have to look into the full person and see, like, how are you doing this task? How are you using your body within when you're doing this, and are you compensating for reduced range of motion, which might lead to pain in other joints. So I think it's important to not just focus on single body parts, or being stressed, for example, for losing your wrist extension or losing that mobility, but to see the full picture in every, like, task and activity in daily life.
Yeah. I think that's such an important point. And, there's so many things that you think about from there, right? I think about, joint capsule itself, what could be happening in there. And I love that you brought up the point about pain as well. The compensatory movements that do happen as a result, that's the last thing we want to be able to for that to cause that. You think about postural management, increase in kyphosis over time, how that impacts range of motion too, and therefore comfort. There's a lot to think about from that perspective. I'm interested also now in just switching it a bit to the max, the levels 3, 4, and 5, where they had less range to start off with, but they lost more range earlier. Have I got that correct? Earlier and faster?
Yeah.
Any thoughts about the mechanisms of that compared to max 1 and 2?
I think it comes to this is just speculations, but sure. I think it comes to how you're using your muscles and your body, and it's comparable with the lower limbs and lower limb range of motion, where we also see that the higher GMFCS levels, the more the children with a severe form of CP, they lose more range of motion. So their muscles are more affected than
impact of spasticity,
individuals
and dystonia, into all of it.
And not being able to use your body and use your full range of motion. And it's also clear that muscles doesn't function the same, and the mechanism within the muscles are not the same in for example, in every muscle in the body.
The physiology itself.
It seems like it. So it seems like it works differently.
Interesting.
And I think we still have a lot to learn there.
So much, and it just opens up so many things to think about, right? Like I as you're saying now, thinking about the length tension relationship. You're going to work in the range that's you're going to have the most strength. It might be in the mid range particularly, and then I think of the individuals who use their upper limbs a lot to support their mobility. When they use crutches or walkers, when they're really mobilizing and weight bearing through their upper limbs, they're really bracing in that range and not necessarily using their upper limbs for doing, because it's supporting their ambulation as well. And I just wonder what that does to the use, like you said before, about how you actually use your upper limbs and what that looks like over time. Lots and lots of thoughts. I guess from your perspective now, and you've presented this data that you've been thinking about and sitting on a lot. What would your advice be for people who are currently working with individuals with cerebral palsy, especially say going into adulthood? What would your advice be at this point in time, as I know that you're going to keep searching and looking into more detail about it, Erika?
I think it's to don't assume that adults with CP are stable just because they are adults. Things will keep happening. And we need to stop think that follow-up ends when growth ends. So our data suggests that range of motion continue to decline throughout adulthood. So clinicians should stay alert to changes over time. But not as being stressed or feeling like they haven't done enough or telling families that they haven't done enough. It's more like being there and talking about those things, because I think it's this awareness is also needed in the discussions with individuals with CP, because this is how it looks. Those individuals that we have followed is adults that has been followed for many years. They have had interventions. Even if they have had interventions and have been followed by physiotherapists and occupational therapists and teams, they still get a decline in range of motion. And so it's somewhat, it's the natural progression within the disease. And I think that's something that we should be better to talk with families about, both in the childhood and throughout life.
Of course,
because I know many families that we meet are very stressed, and clinicians as well. They are very stressed and want to avoid contractures at any price.
I get what you mean. I love how you said that, because yes, this is obviously uncovering something in terms of a better understanding of what the natural progression might look like for people with cerebral palsy. But it's not a point to then go, oh, now we need to worry about upper limb contractures. So you've got to do these things to be able to prevent it. We're saying, look, this is the natural progression. Let's be aware of it in terms of how this might impact an individual. Would there be any specific joints that you feel that people can focus more on? Because this is obviously overall is upper limb. Would there be any advice on specific joints? Because I imagine that could be another question that, parents might say, look, there's so many joints to worry about. What should we really focus on? What could we look at? Is there any advice there from you?
If we just look at our data, across the whole group, if I should say one joint, the shoulder is probably where you see the most consistent decline.
Right.
And of course, the shoulder function is really important in daily life, when being able to reach and positioning the arm and interact with your environment.
Yes.
But I will still be a bit careful about saying that we should focus on a specific joint over another, because clinically, it's rarely about that single joint. It's how everything works together for for that individual.
Yeah, sure.
So I think the more important message is not which joint, but who is at risk. And there we do see that individuals at higher GMSTS levels, max levels, especially 4 and 5, tend to lose more range of motion. So they may need more proactive and closer follow-ups also in adulthood. But even then it still comes back to the individual perspective, like what does this person need to be able to do things in their daily life and what's important to them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Just a final thing here, I guess the natural place to often go for a lot of this is the role of stretching. And when you look at the state of the evidence traffic lights, it does talk about stretching, which they do caution as yellow light when it's done in isolation. And I think it's really relevant here. But when you look at a lot of the papers, I think that were reviewed by memory, do correct me if I'm wrong, most of them were lower limb. It was mostly about lower limb stretching and contractures and things like that. Is there anything that can be applied to upper limb? Because I imagine that's probably the next point of going, well, if there's loss of range of motion, do we stretch? But again, stretching in isolation is limited, right? Do you have any thoughts that you can help guide us through that one?
Yeah, that's the problem, that many of our interventions have variable evidence.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be careful to oversimplify and say like that is the solution. But when it comes to stretching, I think definitely that short-term stretching will unlikely change the long-term results. But if we think broadly, I think when it comes to, for example, orthosis, they can play an important role for providing a long-term stretch if they are tolerated and comfortable for the person.
Yeah.
But also when it comes to function and activity, so I think that's the key, that they need to be meaningful in daily life and not just something that you should wear.
Yes.
I had an interview with a teenager some weeks ago about the use of orthosis, and he said that when he was sleeping, he was having orthosis from his shoulders down to his feet. That he has got from his physiotherapist because they were afraid of him getting contractures. And I was like, oh, but can you sleep with those? No, I can't. I was like, that's not the way we should go. Just so I don't want my research to make people stressed about their patients getting contractures. I want us to stay focused on their daily life.
The activity, the participation.
And use this research to discuss with them that it's common that people with CP will get a decline in range of motion, and we are here to support you.
You haven't done anything wrong.
No, exactly.
There is this natural progression that we can see.
Exactly. So
no, that's great. Well, thank you for taking us through that. It's really good to have this data in the back of our minds when we're having conversations with people. And like you said, we don't want to be swinging the pendulum and going, oh, alert. It's just understanding this, what the role of this data has. Now, from this perspective, I imagine there's a lot of work that you're embarking on. Where to from here now for you, Erika, and the work for you and your team?
At the moment, we are working on a study that is similar to this one, where we will follow the range of motion in the lower limbs for adults with CP.
Wow.
So it's similar to this one.
Interesting. Okay. How far away is that from being done? So when do I get to talk to you next?
Yeah, exactly. We have all the nice graphs already done. So we have the results. We're just
okay. So it's close. All right. I'll chat to you at EACD. Close. I'll see where it's up to then, and then we'll plan from there. That's so wonderful.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much for that, Erika. Look, before we wrap it all up and say goodbye, we do need to head to our final segment. Gosh, our most popular segment, I might add. Here we go. Tell it to Ed. Ed, as you know, is our producer. He doesn't have a background in child health, range of motion, upper limbs, are all probably a bit foreign to him. I think we've spoken about this before, but he has been listening, and I'm sure he will come out with a question for you, Erika. But before he has an opportunity to ask you a question, can I get you to summarize this work in about 60 seconds or so? And Ed, you'll have time for one question. So Erika, take it away.
Okay, so Ed, we have followed almost 1,400 adults with cerebral palsy over many years to look how their joint movement change over time. And we found something quite clear, that the range of motion in their arms tend to decrease throughout their adulthood. And importantly, that doesn't not just happens to people with more severe CP. It happens for everyone, even with those with mild forms of CP. This might sound a bit worrying, but the message isn't that things are going wrong. It's that cerebral palsy is a lifelong condition and that the body continues to change over time. And maybe most importantly, we should talk about this openly so it doesn't come as a surprise and so people feel that they doesn't have done anything wrong, because it's not about failure. It's about understanding the condition and support people across their lifespan.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Wow.
Thank you very much. All right, Ed, are you ready for your question?
I'm not sure, but I'll give it a go.
Okay.
So this is definitely a different topic. I think every week I'm learning something new, which is great.
As am I. It's great.
And I guess I'm just kind of thinking a little bit about early intervention, and I've learned a lot about that. You know, trying to start intervention very early, and then there's obviously no cure for a lot of these things, but managing quality of life becomes better the earlier that you can kind of begin interventions and therapies. And I'm just kind of thinking about, obviously, people becoming adults now, and it seems like all of the focus has been on the early intervention and less focus, obviously, on when they become adults. So I'm assuming that's the reason why some of this data is immensely eye-opening for people. And I wonder whether there needs to be a slight shift, maybe not a shift, but maybe a greater investment into how therapies and conditions and the like look like for people once they pass that pediatric phase. I don't know whether there's something there from a government or regulation or research and investment point of view that perhaps you can make a comment on where this might need to go in the future.
Great question. Erika, over to you. We're just nodding. Yes.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly yourself. It's like the answer is yes.
Yeah.
That's what's needed. And also, like you said, early interventions. But I want to add, like, it's never too late. It's never too late for intervention.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful.
also it's never too late for being there and for supporting with technology.
Yeah.
I have a lot of trust in new technology, like smart orthosis, what can be done there to make life better for adults, to like less pain, more activity in their life. So I think things will happen. I'm sure that we will see a lot of things happening hopefully in the coming years.
Future. I think so too. Great question, Ed. Thank you. And Erika, I mean, I can't help but to think that, right? I think this is why this data is so important, is because we need to actually track this as a lifelong condition. And Ed, you're right. You know, we do have this huge focus on early intervention, and it is important, but it is very densely delivered during that time. And you do wonder how we can best use our limited services across lifespan to be able to support people, because there's a lot of life after pediatrics, as they are, in fact, our entire lives remain from there. So there's a lot of years there, and it's really on us, isn't it, to bring that awareness, the fact that this continues beyond 18. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's something that we, the clinicians who work with children, also have to focus on.
Yeah.
Like I meet so many adults that say, they never told me about this, and they never told me that it will be more difficult to walk. They never told me about the pain.
Wow. Yeah.
Because we tend to like close our eyes about adulthood, but
but it's there.
We can't do that.
It's real. Yep. And then there's a whole life.
It's real. It's there. It's coming.
Yeah, that's right. And I love how you said before, we don't want this to be a shock. Like help them to understand their bodies. And I think that's really important because I think we're always thinking of like better, achieve, go for that. But at what cost? And we need to make sure we're thinking about someone from a lifelong perspective. So Erika, your work is so important. I love it. I love your research team. I see that, you guys publishing all this incredible work. So thank you for doing the work, raising awareness, teaching all of us. It's really just phenomenal. I'm so glad we got to speak today. And to all of our listeners, I hope you really enjoyed that as well. It's so worthwhile thinking about this data, sharing this with your peers and your colleagues, because we need to be so much more aware of this in terms of, our interventions and our communication with our families too. And this paper is open access and the graphs, like I said, are pretty and they've got really nice colors. So they're really beautiful to look at. We'll put a link for this paper on our website, researchworks.net. But remember, we are migrating all of this to researchworks.academy, where we'll be including a lot of our papers in our AI function there for you. There's great resources there. There's a Max decision tree if you want to work through that yourself as well. And we've got courses coming up in there. Anki Eliason's got a great course on there. It's just a place where you can learn more, share, and just implement. And the more of this we do together, the better. But for now, Erika, you have a whole day ahead of you. This is my time to finish up for the day. Have a really good day ahead.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much for inviting me. And it was a pleasure to talk with you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. I will see you at EACD, as I will see a lot of people at EACD. We're really looking forward to being back with EACD, this time in Galway. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun. But for now, stay tuned for so many more episodes to come before we head over there. But goodbye. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.